it wasn't until in my, after college when I went out into the world that I felt this tremendous suffering and subtle suffering, and then just this kind of normal dissatisfaction about life. Like, is that all there is? There's gotta be more to this. And um, and the suffering informed me that I needed to stop. I needed to reevaluate how life has been going. And and I knew that there was something there in meditation. I knew that if I didn't meditate, I was going to go insane. I was going to lose it and maybe probably, have to intoxicate myself or medicate myself or something, right? Or numb myself or get involved in something to kind of just forget about just this general dissatisfaction or just this sense of meaninglessness, right? Aimlessness. And so I came back to Buddhism, but through meditation. So through the practice of meditation and just sitting, and then through the practice of meditation, and then through the practice of mindfulness, seeing how mindfulness was this way to integrate this meditative experience and feel into life. And that has really, really altered my day-to-day experience. And, what makes this a path is that there's philosophy, yes, but philosophy, we can hear it and it sounds really great, but then how do we realize that philosophy? Right? So this is the path of practice. So we practice to really deeply touch and know those teachings for ourselves and how it resonates with us and how we can directly connect to it from our own experiences. And we have a context for that. We have a context to reflect that in. So I'm really moved and honored and grateful to that you're all here and that you're interested in this path of practice. And, the invitation here is always an invitation of try it out, see for yourself, right? And you're welcome to stop at any time, to get up, to practice in a way that feels right for you, that feels like it really resonates with you, right? So there isn't anything about needing to believe in anything at all, right? So it's all an invitation to try it out. Try it out. So Steffi's gonna come up here and take my seat, and Steffi will um, read the welcome statement and land acknowledgement.
This is the welcome statement. At Pacific Northwest Meditation, we honor and welcome each of you. Whether you are just beginning or have been walking with the path for years, your presence matters, and we're grateful that you're here. We warmly welcome people of every age, ethnicity, cultural heritage, and religious backgrounds. We welcome people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, all socioeconomic groups, and all abilities. We also want to acknowledge the fullness and richness of your identity, including dimensions we have not named aloud, and to honor the many interesting, intersecting ways we each experience the world. We gather to practice and study not just for our own awakening, but for the benefit of all beings in this living earth. We recognize the suffering caused by prejudice, power, privilege, and systems of oppression. Together, we aspire to do no harm. We commit ourselves to dismantling barriers that create separation and suffering, knowing that our own liberation is inseparably tied to the liberation of all. With mindfulness and loving kindness as our guides, we work to create a space where everyone feels respected, safe, and truly welcomed. We recognize that this is a dynamic, evolving process that requires continual listening, learning, and care, especially toward voices that have been historically marginalized. Our shared leadership embraces the responsibility to foster policies and practices that support true inclusion. And we know that it takes the heartful engagement of every Sangha member to help create and sustain a community that reflects the Dharma we aspire to embody. This is the territory acknowledgement. We also pause to honor and acknowledge the indigenous peoples of this region whose ancestral lands we now occupy. These include the Willamette, Clackamas, Multnomah, Tualatin, and the many tribes and bands now part of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. We recognize the Cowlitz, the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, and the Siletz, and the many Native communities who have long lived among and along the Willamette and Columbia rivers and throughout the Cascades since time immemorial. We remember that Portland is still home to many diverse and Native communities. We honor all Indigenous people, past and present and future, and offer our deep gratitude for their continued presence, wisdom, and resilience. Land acknowledgements are just one small step toward disrupting the legacy of colonization. They are the beginning of a much larger conversation and a call to the right relationship and a call to right relationship, learning, and right action. These are our community guidelines and sharing practice. We invite you to help us maintain a welcoming and respectful place for all by following a few simple guidelines posted near the door, and I'll be reading them now. Out of care of those for people with sensitivities, we strive to be a scent-free space. Please refrain from wearing scented products when attending. For those with neurodiversities or anyone seeking quiet, we offer a peaceful garden space through the door beside the elevator. Please leave the door propped open if you step outside. If you need additional support to feel comfortable or engaged, please don't hesitate to speak with me or Trina. We're committed to cultivating a space of safety and inclusion. Racist, homophobic, transphobic, non-binary, exclusionary, ableist, or otherwise harmful language is not accepted. As a Sangha, we gently call each other in when something painful is said, and supporting both protection and learning. We aim to listen and speak with mindfulness and open hearts. We invite you to introduce yourself using your pronouns as a practice of respect and inclusion for all gender identities. Pronouns are an important part of someone's expression and may include combinations like he, him, she, her, they, them, or others. We acknowledge that mistakes happen and encourage compassion and forgiveness as we all learn together. As Dr. Beatrice Berry reminds us in this paraphrase, quote, "One of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal is the tool of diversity. When I opened my mind and heart to the diversity of the world, I opened the avenues to succeed. So, in the spirit of connection, when we speak today, we invite you to share your name and your pronouns, a few words about how you're feeling physically or emotionally, or what brings you here. If you prefer to pass, that's welcome too. That's it. Pass around the handheld mic.
I think we can do that at the end after the Dhamma talk. Yeah. For those who want to share. Yeah. Thank you. Steffi and I, we've been sitting on Zoom for many months now, many months, many months. And today's my first time seeing Steffi in person. So, yes, I'm just filled with joy. Yes, the moment I have with each one of you when we finally see each other in person, like Rochelle and Carla too. We sit every day at 6:30 a.m. and it's just so special because it's how technology has allowed us to be in the practice and be in community with each other and calm and soothe our nervous system and learn the Dharma and know that we can access our spiritual home even online, right? And then there's the physical space and place that we can come together for that. So it's really, really special that you're like, you really exist. You're really here. All of you. Yeah. So I'm just appreciating just how precious it is that we exist also in this physical realm. Yeah. Yeah. And all that comes with that. So we'll begin with a lightly guided meditation. Is there anyone here who hasn't practiced meditation yet? This is their first time practicing meditation. Okay, great. And then after our meditation, we'll take like a 5-10 minute break, and then we'll come back for the Dharma talk. And today's talk is around one of the aspects on this path, the Noble Eightfold Path. And this is the practice of loving speech, wise speech. And so as we begin our meditation, I invite you to choose a posture that feels comfortable for you. So it might look different for each person. Okay, you might see me assume a certain posture, and that might work for you, or it might look another way. And know that at any point in time, you're welcome to shift posture, to stand, to lie down, to sit on the floor, to change chairs, to even practice walking meditation. So we can cultivate mindfulness in any posture simply by bringing our attention to the body, to the present moment, to the contact points in the body, and bringing this curiosity and loving kindness into how we meet each moment, each sensation, each thought, each sound, right? And if you find that stillness comes by way of ease and stability. So that ease and stability can be found in that way that we let our body rest back and soften. And that could happen too when walking, where there's an experience of deep rest and ease. So however that looks like for you, I invite you to bring this curiosity, this care, and taking a moment to see What does your body need from you? I'm feeling a bit cold, so what my body needs is another layer. So, what does your body need from you to feel that sense of comfort and ease? It's like that love that you give yourself. Oh, thank you. I'm going to use this for my laugh. Thank you. Oh, I feel that loving kindness in me coming from you. Oh, and what would it be like if we right now generate that loving kindness for ourselves, that warmth, that care? So maybe as you're arriving, seeing if there's any gentle movement you like to invite into the body, stretching the neck, rolling the shoulder, straightening out the back, softening the spine. Yeah, stretching out the legs and the feet. Mhm. And I'll offer a few anchors, and or maybe you find an anchor or a method that works for you, one that you're familiar with, or trying out something new. Bringing this beginner's mind into the practice in this moment. That freshness, that interest that we bring to this moment. So, as you establish yourself in this posture, this shape, I invite you to take a moment to scan through the body. Notice any tension or tightness in the shoulders, the neck, the back, the hips, the legs, the feet, the arms, the hands. Relaxing the jaw, lips touching, the tongue is resting. Softening all the tiny muscles in the face. Let your eyes rest. Maybe the eyes are slightly open with a soft downward gaze. Or if it feels safe, the eyes are closed, limiting any distractions. And if the breath is accessible and available for you today, notice the breath coming into the nostrils, cool air entering the nostrils, warm air leaving the nostrils. sensing and feeling the breath energy throughout the body. Noticing the rise and fall of the breath in the chest, in the belly, the breath expanding and contracting through the belly. Notice where your body is pressing against the surface below you. This direct contact has us know that there's a body sitting here. There's a body in its posture. And also the movement of the body has us know that there's a body breathing. Tuning into this direct experience with breath and body. As best as you can, soften where there's any tension or tightness. Maybe sending the breath to that part of the body. Or maybe giving rise to this warmth, this loving kindness. That rolls out the welcome mat. Welcome. You're welcomed here. There's space for you here. I acknowledge that you're here. You might continue to anchor into the breath or to the contact points in the body or to sound. Sound bringing you back to the present moment. Tuning in to what's here. Tuning into sounds to break through the noise of the mind. Tuning into the feeling tone of this moment. Tuning into each in-breath and each out-breath. Resting. Resting in that place that feels wholesome, that feels loving. Is it possible to get in touch with what is loving within you? Where do you feel that warmth or wholesomeness or goodness within? What could be loved about what is happening right here and right now? Sensing, feeling, tuning in to the moment by moment experience. Wherever you are now, I invite you to bring to mind or bring into the heart a moment or person that brings warmth into your heart. Maybe it's a moment of joy, a heartfelt experience you had recently, a moment of connection, or a moment that makes you smile, that fills you up with love. And letting that experience enter into your being. Where do you feel the aliveness of that warmth, that joy, that loving kindness? Continuing to stay with that feeling. That quality of the heart mind that purifies, any ailments, any dis-ease, any tension. Coming close to feel the tenderness of that love, that kindness, that joy. Or maybe it's something in this very moment that can be loved, that can be appreciated. We'll end our meditation with a loving kindness song. And I'll share the song on the screen for those of you who'd like to join. You're also welcome to continue sitting if you'd like, and just allow the words to enter into that heart space and to notice if it moves anything within you. I'll put the words on the chat for those of you on Zoom. So you see the one version says love and kindness, and the other one is loving kindness. Both are welcome. And so we begin by giving rise to this quality of goodness and warmth that we first let in, allow into ourselves, and also generate from within us. So maybe putting a hand on the heart or in a place on the body where you'd like to send some loving kindness to. Offering ourselves this care, these well wishes. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May all be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be happy. Taking a moment to notice where there's a feeling of aliveness within you. Bowing in gratitude for this practice and this time we have together. We'll take a 5-minute break here and we'll be back, let's say by 5:40. Yeah, 4 minutes. Welcome Tony and Sina. Welcome Kimberly. There's a restroom right outside across the hallway. And there's also one upstairs. And then there's another one in the cafeteria. If you cut through the cafeteria, it'll be to the left, all the way in the back. And the water fountain's right outside and upstairs as well, I think. Is there one upstairs? Water fountain? Can't remember now. It's been a while.
Actually, I don't think
Oh, sorry, I was muted, but I was just saying to everyone here in the room that we had a little bit of a line with the the three restrooms here. So everyone's back now. Okay, great. Mhm. See if everyone on Zoom is back yet. Let's see. All right, everyone is here in the physical space. Welcome back, Mary. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm gonna move this back so I could see you. Or like, there you go. There we go. Okay. I keep looking like between the screens to try to see you. There. All right. It's like mostly everyone on Zoom is back again. Okay. So there is a time when the Buddha was in the park, and it was uh, at night. So during the daytime, there are practitioners and his students and disciples that come and visit him and ask him questions. And then when that quiets down through the night, the devas, the heavenly beings, they come, and that's their time to come to ask him questions in the middle of the night. And on this occasion, they wanted to know, they said, we're concerned for happiness, and so are human beings. So, and we all long for peace. So, can you tell us, like, how do we live a happy life? What's the highest blessings of this life? And so, in this sutra, the sutra on the highest blessings, also translated as the sutra on happiness, the Buddha laid out all of these conditions and factors that we can, you know, put in place so that the highest blessings is not something that someone bestow onto us, but is there are these conditions that we shape and these choices that we make and the effort that we put in that will help us experience a peaceful, good life. And when I reflect on the sutra, I also see the Noble Eightfold Path, the path of right view, right understanding, right intention, right livelihood, right speech, right effort, right mindfulness. So I could see this the way the Buddha shares about these conditions, so avoiding the foolish, be around people who are wise and kind and then put in the effort to master, whatever work or skills you have. And one of the things that he emphasized, which I'll be covering today, is having a speech that is true and pleasant to hear. And that directly speaks to the fourth precept, the fourth Buddhist precept on right speech. And, something that we might ponder about too is why would loving speech, be what affects our happiness? Like, is it me that has to give loving speech, or is it the other way around? If people stop lying, stop saying mean things, right? If people would stop delivering false information, if the leaders of our world would stop shading the narrative, is that what it takes for there to be, for us to experience a better life? So the Buddha's, in his instruction, it's more about our practice on the path, that he's inviting us that this is what we are practicing. We're practicing loving speech, right? We're practicing to not utter words that are not true, to not exaggerate the truth, to not say things that we don't know for certain to be true, to not make assumptions and call it facts. So it's turned the other way around when we're on this path. It's more about how are we speaking? So you see the difference there, right? The part that we suffer with is how our leaders of the world are speaking, right? How the violence and harmful speech outside of us causes us to suffer. And on one level, yes, that is true. We suffer. We're sensitive to these things. And now the invitation is more this radical act of generating that within us, that through our own loving and truthful speech, that we are giving rise to this inner peace and happiness that comes from within. So it's moving away from shaping and trying to work with the external conditions to now a turn inwards. So on this path of practice, this is a very advanced training to turn it inwards and it's like taking that vow that through loving speech, I will come to know of inner peace. I will come to know of a kind of happiness that I might have not known of. I will come to know of a happiness, a way that promotes reconciliation and peace within myself, first and foremost, and then how that ripples outward into relationships, out into the world, out into those places where there's usually a lot of harm and aggression, tension and violence. So this is where, to me, the Buddha's instructions is so radical. It's so radical and different than how we approach, loving speech when we look at it from the end of how ill speech and violent speech cause us to suffer and harms us. Now we're using that as a tool to give rise to something from within us that can help heal, help mend, help promote goodness and wholesomeness in the world. And so through like the practice of loving kindness that we um, undertook at the end of our meditation, there is that way in which we're tuning into the heart sensitivity, tuning into that tenderness where there's ache and pain, but where there's also love that we can touch into and feel. And it's through our speech that we can transform our karma, right? So we can also notice when what other people say affect our karma and our trajectory. So if that is true, the things that were said to us when we were, a child, and how that we carried that as a sentence for the rest of our life, what we decided, how we took on our view of the world and our view of ourselves. What else is true? It's true that with our speech, we can transform our karma. And we might even be able to impact the karma of others. So when we look at it like that, now speech becomes something that we really want to look at and be really mindful of every word, right? Will these words promote peace and healing and reconciliation? Or will the speech create suffering, dis-ease, tension, and anger and pain? So we see that loving and honest speech can shape our way of being and create a ripple from within us of wholesomeness and of a pleasant feeling tone that now radiates outward. And so when I think of speech, I look at it from many angles. So there's the obvious, which is speech to others, but also what about how we speak to ourselves? I think that that in itself is a mindfulness training, mindful of speech to myself. So how often do we, when we speak to ourselves, that we are so harsh or we make ourselves wrong for feeling a certain way, for having a certain emotion. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's jealousy. Why do I feel this way? But can we apply that kind of loving speech and the orientation towards our thoughts, our emotions, and ourself in that way that is kind, understanding, and caring? Oh, yeah. It's you've been out of practice, or oh, you're stressed right now. Oh, okay, yeah, you're trying your best, and it's like this right now, right? Rather than, gosh, why can't you get anything right? What's wrong with you? Right. So I think it's important that when we practice loving speech, it begins with us. It begins with self. It begins right in here. How do I speak to myself that then now goes out into work to the world? We can't detect that how we speak to other because this is so normal because this is how we speak to ourselves. So the training is to turn that inwards and practice loving speech to ourselves, relating to ourselves in such a way where it's like a loving, nurturing adult that's talking to a child who's hurt and wounded, who's hungry and tired, and saying, there. I know. I've come home to be with you. All right. So this practice of loving speech is not just to others that we are in relationship with, right? It's to ourselves also. So this is where we bring that practice from external facing to now inward facing. And recently on our morning meditation, Wake Up Together, one of our members shared about the 4 liberating questions from Byron Katie, which I thought was just so, so beautiful. Um, and I kind of took her version of this and kind of modify a little bit at the end just to apply it to this talk. But it's the self inquiry, which involves, these simple questions. Um, so before we speak, we can ask ourselves, is it true? Do I absolutely know that it's true? Right. And then next, it could be, Does it feel pleasant inside when I say this? Is there a pleasant feeling tone? How does it feel like in the body to want to tell them this, to want to say this? And, to really look at, is it about my discomfort that has me wanting to express this? Right? Is it about my discomfort that has me wanting to express this? I just need to say this to them. Right? I owe it to them to tell them the truth. It used to be like that for me, where it's like, I gotta teach them a lesson. Somehow I became a teacher, and I wasn't a teacher, but there was this part of me that just wanted to call people out. And as you heard in the welcome statement, it's calling people in. It's a space, an invitation, but a space that is safe, right, and kind. So, is it about my discomfort that has me wanting to express this? Or is it from the place of love, compassion, and understanding that wants to share this? And one of the things that I take on, before sharing something, having a difficult conversation, is I ask myself, have I reached a place of love, compassion, and understanding in myself and with this person? So, over here with me, have I reached a place of love, compassion, and understanding in myself and with this person? If I'm still judging, no, I haven't reached a place of understanding yet. If there's still some part of me that blames them for something or wish they were some other way, doing some other thing, I'm not in that place of love and acceptance yet. So we really want to break down what loving and true and pleasant speech is, right? And then the other part is, with understanding, is is the other person in a space that they'll be able to hear this? So that piece of understanding is understanding maybe they're suffering right now, and this would be too much. This would be too much. They wouldn't be able to receive it. I was sharing with someone, was it today? Yeah, that I was going to give this talk on speech that is true and pleasant to hear. And they said, yeah, like I always tell people the truth. And I want people to tell me the truth, even if it's hard for me to hear. And I was like, okay. And then I said, so both of these things have to be there, true and pleasant to hear. And she said, she paused for a moment and she's like, yeah, it would be nice if it was pleasant, whatever someone was telling me. So, you know, hearing the truth is hard, but when it's being said in a loving and pleasant way, it lands in the heart. And it's from the other person's heart that they're speaking from that lands in our heart. So I remember while I was on the holiday retreat at one of the Itnyakan centers. Um, so on the second last night, we have a talent show, and each of the Dharma family, there's like 250 participants, retreatants there, and we have our little families based upon our age group. And my Dharma family uh, put together a little song, one of the practice songs that we've heard me sing here. And we rehearsed it, and I was teaching them the words. And we sang it a few times. And okay, let's keep practicing. And then one of my Dharma family member, inside of our group as we were practicing, like we were like Like it's almost time, almost showtime. And he said, in such a nice way that I can't even repeat his words verbatim, but it was so loving how he pointed out that I was not on the beat. So that's why we couldn't be in sync with each other. And it was so sweet the way he said it. It was so loving. It was true and it was pleasant. It was loving. And and you know, it stuck with me so much. I mean, the way he shared the feedback and what I got out of it was so from that time on, every time I'm singing in the morning or here, I start tapping my fingers, like would stay on beat. And I just think of him all the time, like the impact that he had on me by sharing something that was true, that was beneficial, but also in a very loving way, right? So that's just an example of how, speech that is true and pleasant to hear can really impact a person, can really, have a positive impact. It was a friend had shared a TED talk with me about this one the speaker named Nate Evans Jr. who spoke about you know how growing up there weren't any safe spaces for him to express all the difficult and strong emotions. And he talked about how Black boys like often don't have the safe space to process emotions and have that fluency and understanding of their emotions. And he speaks about how important it is to create these safe space that are of vulnerability and of mindful listening, deep listening, that invites people into this container that is of love and empathy, that then allows for them to be able to share what is true, for them to be able to speak about their experience, knowing that it's going to be held in this place of love and empathy and care. And why that's important, this sense of, what I spoke about earlier is that other person's in the space where they'll be able to hear and receive this, but also are we creating this space that will allow for that person to also say what is true to us, right? So I feel like that's where the advanced practice is can we create a space, a container of safety as well for true and loving speech to also arise from the other person. So a teaching I'd like to share, a practice actually I'd like to share is called the beginning a new practice. And this is a practice that was created by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh. And at every Thich Nhat Hanh retreat, there's always a session where we learn these practices and then we participate in it. And I never knew what it was like for the children who participated in this beginning a new practice. But one evening, I happened to be standing by the office, which was next to where the kids were having this beginning a new practice. And I'll share what the practice is in a moment. Um, and I stood there and I saw the kids, they were preteen, and then their parents were invited to join the session. And it was facilitated by the monks and nuns of Plum Village. And during this time, I could hear the kids sharing with their parents, their suffering and some of the things they felt, um, I could have done better. I'm sorry I did that, or I was really cranky the other day, or that you told me to do something and I didn't listen. And the parents also shared, I'm sorry I took it out on you when I was stressed that day. And how beautiful it was that there was a container that felt so safe that these kids could express their own pain and suffering, the things that they hold inside, right? And that parents too could pause and receive this, and if the kids had some things that they would like to request from their parents, they too could share that in that time. And it was so beautiful to just be in that space of witnessing from afar this going on and just the loving speech that was there. I was really moved because I got to, see it as it was happening from afar. So, by aligning our words with love and truthfulness, we can transform our relationship to ourselves and to each other. So, really, I guess what I want to express is just the power of this practice on the Noble Eightfold Path of loving speech. And it's also a precept, right? A mindfulness training, a training on ethical conduct. So it's not just don't lie. It's not just don't lie. It's deeper than that. It's that truthfulness, that love and kindness that dissolves anger and hate and resentment and blame. And it promotes wholesomeness within us and within the other person. So the fourth step of the beginning a new practice is the first step is to water the other person's flower. So flower watering. So we water the flowers in the other person's garden, expressing our appreciation, expressing gratitude, and get very specific with it. What did that person do that we're grateful for? What do we really appreciate? We can take this out into all of our relationship with our partners, our children, our parents, our friends, our community members. So flower watering. And just think about that, how that helps a flower bloom open. It helps a person open up when we water the flowers in their garden. It's like that plant that received nourishment. Ah, right. Yeah. Yeah. And then the next step is expressing. They changed this a little bit, but the version that I remember is the next step is to express our regrets, right? So the things that we feel we've done to hurt the other person. Yeah. Express our regrets. And then the next one is to express our hurts. It hurt me when the other day you came home and, you know, you you did that thing that don't like. I was just thinking about John and Julia Gottman, how he like has these stacks of books and he's just got books and paperwork and reading material everywhere and Julia's always like, oh God, she just can't stand it. But it's like this practice of, being able to, how do we express that in a loving way, right? And we can own our feelings around it. So expressing our hurts. And then the last step is asking for support and solution. Like let's work this out together. Let's turn towards each other. Let's lean into the discomfort of like, how are we going to make this work? How do we? And sometimes it's even just, I mean, I've done this beginning of new practices with some people in my past where we couldn't get to the fourth step. We were like on two, and then we kind of got to three, and then we're like, okay, we need to stop. And then we did it again. We started back at the first step to two, and then we got to three. And then as soon as we got to four, the fourth step, all right, we need to take a breather and come back another day. Right. So not rushing the process, but letting it unfold. We have to see ourselves go through the stages where our heart remains open. As soon as we contract, it doesn't work to keep going, but to just, let's just pause here and let's set up another time. Let's have some cake. That's what I always said. When things get tense in the family, any family member can say, would anyone like some cake? So always have cake at home. That's dangerous. Oh. Another way that I look at this practice of cultivating wise and skillful and loving speech is to be reflected up against the wholesome and unwholesome factors, the 52 mental formations, right? So, does the speech give rise to fear or fearlessness? Does the speech give rise to anger or non anger? Right? Does the speech give rise to generosity or greed? Right? Does the speech soften another person's heart or hardens their heart? So, does the speech give rise to wholesome qualities within within myself and within the other person, or does it give rise to the opposite? So that's another way we can kind of feel into what is right speech, right? So right is not what someone tells us, but it's that way we tune in to that emotional tone, that feeling tone, and that experience as it is alive within us. And I'd like to share the this is a part of the 14 mindfulness training. This is a remake of the precept on um, speech um, from Thich Nhat Hanh. And so this is the ninth mindfulness training, truthful and loving speech. Aware that words can create happiness or suffering, we are committed to learning to speak truthfully, lovingly, and constructively. We will use only words that inspire joy, confidence, and hope, as well as promote reconciliation and peace in ourselves and among other people. We will speak and listen in a way that will help others and ourselves to transform suffering and see the way out of difficult situations. We are determined not to say untruthful things for the sake of personal interest or to impress people, nor to utter words that might cause division or hatred. We will protect the happiness and harmony of our Sangha by refraining from speaking about the faults of other peoples in their absence and always ask ourselves whether our perceptions are correct. We will speak only with the intention to understand and help transform the situation. We will not spread rumors, nor criticize or condemn things of which we are not sure. We will do our best to speak out about situations of injustice, even when doing so may make difficulties for us or threaten our safety. Ooh, that is big. So this is a practice that we can take on and recall. This is a template, right? A template for how to be, how to use speech for the good. So we'll pause here for a moment and let ourselves come back to what's alive for you in this moment. What is stirring up inside of the heart or mind? What feels, what is being felt? Mm. I see Margaret's hands up. Hey, Margaret.
Hi, Trina. Thank you. Thank you. And my pronouns are she, her. Uh, what kept coming up for me as you were speaking is it seems to me as though you're speaking about establishing an atmosphere of trust.
Mm.
And that is just very beautiful. That is very beautiful. And uh, it's very clear to me in my body what it feels like
Mm.
when when the person that I'm speaking to um, um, comprehends it as well as myself, as well as the giving of that I guess I'll say trust. Establishing an atmosphere sometimes takes time,
Yeah.
but it's so worthy, so beautiful and worthy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Thank you for
Mhm.
saying that. I appreciate hearing you using the word trust, establishing trust. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. And going back to the top of this being what the Buddha said is the steps to a happy life, that by practicing speech that is true and pleasant to hear, this is one of the condition for that to be there, for us to have that life of peace and well-being. Because when we speak words that are true and pleasant to hear at the same time, it does something within, right? You know, when you've done that, like you just feel this tremendous relief and ah, there's a well-being that arises in the body. So we're not suppressing, but we're just getting to that place where when we can find it in our heart and feel it, and the words come from that place of tenderness, not from the place of ache and anger, but from the place of love that's on the other side of ache. That when the words can come from there, that those words that flow out of us is fills us with this wholesome energy. Fills us with this sense of goodness and well-being. And the truthfulness is there. It's firm, but it's kind. Right? So whether it's drawing a boundary, there could be a firmness, but also could be loving too. Yes, Sandra.
I've been pondering this a lot as I want to be much more on the path. And what I keep feeling like is there's a lot less to be said. I just feel like
Mm.
I just like life needs to be more quiet. It and it as a householder, it seems to me as in daily work, um, it's going to present, uh, a lot of practice every day as a person who has a job that requires a lot of communication. And so, what is that going to look like
Yeah.
as a very mindful and very considered and loving speech during that act of working?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that because I just, what will that practice look like as I become more and more dedicated to it?
Mm. As you were saying that and asking me to give you some ideas, I thought of the moments when I worked as a project manager and how many times I sent out emails and I was like, ooh. So sometimes it is after the fact that we recognize, okay, now I need to go back and clean up because I spoke and I rushed and I was like, just get this thing done and gotta push things forward. And then coming back and realizing, okay, I need to clean that up and soften a bit. Yeah. hmm And apologize and come back to that place of humbleness. Right. So that I think that's at work, you know, that could be a practice too, to see where we, certain habits in speaking at work comes up, and then mindfulness allows us to see and feel that contraction and that tension. And then, because we also are familiar and in touch with how it feels like when there's that softness, that gentleness, that openness, that warmth that we cultivate in loving kindness. So we can we know the difference. Okay, loving kindness is not here. That's absent right now. And then how do we bring that back through repair, right? hmm Yeah, I'm still practicing on that one too. hmm But it's again that the way that our relationship to ourselves in those moments. Yeah, I remember sitting on a retreat for, it was 14 days of just mindful breathing. And I had no idea I was still carrying this thing at work. It was an email I sent off. And then I was feeling this pain in my lower left hip. And that pain all of a sudden, it gave rise to this thought about work. And it was this little tension, micro tension that manifests in the body as pain. And I was in that moment, I was like, wait a minute, I already forgive this person. Why is this still here? And in that moment, I saw that I haven't forgiven myself yet for how I was. Yeah. So that's the part where we have to also be mindful of our relationship to ourselves, how hard we are on ourselves when that's there. You should have done better. You're such a bad Buddhist.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. Mhm. Yeah. And it's in relationship that we have an opportunity to see, where there's room for us to continue to refine our practice. I was reading an article on, I think it was Lion's Roar today, talking about we could have the ninth aspect to the Noble Eightfold Path. There could be a ninth one, which is right relationship,
Mm.
right? Wise relationship, how to navigate relationships skillfully. So that in itself, and that's where we can practice speech, is in relationship with others. And then to also see that there is a relationship with ourselves, we also have to be mindful of. Mhm. Yeah. Hey, Edward. Mm.
Before I had practiced Buddhism, I wasn't really very loving to anyone, and not even myself.
Mhm.
And what I had learned, what actually had transpired after a while, is that I started. Sorry, sorry. Well,
Did you just throw your phone? That was
yeah. After a while, what I learned is that I'm sorry. After a while, what I
Tell me about
learned
your
was
phone.
it doesn't hurt. It won't
Okay,
completely
you're right. It doesn't. I just felt
hurt.
the.
But what is it? Um, I've had such kind of a rough life of abuse altogether that my vocabulary wasn't there
Yeah.
for loving someone else, or showing appreciation to other people. Like, I didn't know the word thank you, or are you hurting,
Yeah.
stuff like that, or can I help you? None of that was in my vocabulary.
Hmm.
But I started to read the Thich Nhat Hanh books, especially the one called, I think it was Learn to Love or something. I can't remember what the name of it is. And one of the things that it said in the book is that, what is it? One of the concepts that was in the book was that you ask, if you get into a disagreement with your partner, you ask them, "Did I hurt you?" And rather than to say, just stop yelling at me or whatever. And I think Buddhism, and it's just the whole concept of it and the practice and everything else. That's, to most people, it wouldn't be this profound, but it just opened up a whole chapter in my life. I mean, the book is, the page has been turned and it's not going to turn back. And so that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Edward. Yeah. Mm. Extremely profound. Mm.
Hi, Sangha.
Hi.
Ooh, the teachings are just so deep. I mean, it's so easy to stay on the surface layer, you know, of like, don't lie. And yet the teaching gets just so granular, so specific, the more you practice. And for me, as the layers of the onion, you know, peel back, I see how like speech includes, you know, so many things that um, that I have, you know, I'm working on. Like my tone is part of speech. When I'm speaking with my children, it's funny, I'll catch myself saying, like, using sweet words, like I'll call them sweetheart or, you know, something, but there's definitely this like tone of impatience or something like that. And so just catching, you know, all the ways in which, like, the ego maybe tries to hide this, like, you know, this like anger, this impatience or aggression or some whatever it is behind it, by trying to, you know, using, you know, loving words, so to speak. But the yeah, the feeling tone, the feeling behind it is not, you know, of kindness or patience. Um, and then yes, and then, you know, when I'm, hold on.
As Everest, little 3-year-old.
Yes, and then, you know, there used to be this adage, of, you know, when you're fighting with your partner, you know, don't go to bed angry with each other. And that was a thing, but now, you know, I've come to realize, oh yeah, you can go to bed angry, because if you don't go to bed, you'll just keep fighting all night long, because everything is just activated, you know. And so, you know, this practice of, I loved what, you know, Sandra had mentioned, of like the practicing being more quiet, shutting shutting the mouth, you know, um, practicing like withholding, and that's the compassionate thing to do. Okay, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to speak until I'm calm, like, despite what the other person is, you know, the other person may want to continue the conversation or like push for it or whatever. But for me, the most loving thing I can do for both of us is to just shut my mouth, and allow for myself to return to a baseline that is, you know, loving, um, before I decide to say anything. But yes, that's a huge practice as well. But that's, yeah, I appreciate this conversation around, um, right speech and all the ways that it manifests, in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. If you could all hear, those of you on Zoom who've been sharing, the crowd here in the room is very alive and laughing with you and feeling everything with you too. Yes, Rob. I just want to acknowledge it's 6:37. Just so if any one of you have to go, I just want to thank you for being here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm mate Rob. My pronouns are he, him, and yeah, sometimes I go on. I'm going to keep it really short. Um, what Margaret said was really beautiful in terms of the trust that gets created, and somehow it sort of shifted for me. I think about my childhood and, you know, loving moments with my parents, and then also getting yelled at or getting spanked. And what happened in that space? You know, one's a really deep contraction and one is just this expansion. And it's really I think mindful speech is helping dissolve the illusion of separation
Yeah.
and and that's kind of creating trust.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you.
Mm. Beautifully said. Well said. Mm. Elowen.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Trina if you could share the template with us because I could definitely use it on Monday when I return to work.
Yeah.
With this administration, there's a lot of lack of trust, and so a lot of my work groups and our clinic in general doesn't have psychological safety, and so we're trying to create that just within our own smaller work groups as much as we can. And I think that we need to revisit this this way of being because there's been just a lot of anger, resentment, frustration that has come forward in a lot of our meetings. And I think, what I would like to try is to use the template and ask the group to use the template on Monday morning. So send that over. It would be really great.
Yeah. Feel free to email me, Ellen. I can send you that template of the beginning a new practice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, dear friends, thank you for being here and for taking refuge in Sangha and the community that practice mindfulness and awareness and harmony and peace. Just want to express my gratitude to you all for being here. And I think I'll just give a very short Dana talk here. Just this organization is made up of many hands, of a lot of many hearts and mind that come to volunteer, to have this space of trust and safety, and to also help continue to carry these teachings and these practices, right? So for these practices to be alive, there needs to be a space, there need to be teachers and practitioners and all these things. And if you have found any benefit in the practice with Pacific Northwest meditation, and you feel moved to contribute and continue to let this be alive for us, there's a few ways to donate. For those in person, you can donate through the table over there at the entrance. And for those of you on Zoom, you can go on to pnwmeditation.org/ I think it's Dana. And there are ways to contribute there. And really what this goes to is just all our basic costs of operating, and to invite in guest teachers. Yeah. Yeah. So we want to be able to continue to bring in more guest teacher from so many different places to bring in the diverse voice and presentation of these teachings in ways that resonate with you, that is relevant and, just down to earth. Right. So I invite you to be a part of this continuation and to help carry these teachings forward into the future and then outward into places, into people who currently don't have access to this. And that's through our work and Sandra's work with marketing. And then also, if you could write us a review on Google, that also helps get us on the map. So when people are looking up mindfulness, meditation, Dharma, Buddhism, that they find us and they know that there are spaces like this that they can come to for refuge. So, in any way that you can help us continue on to keep this alive, I am grateful. Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your practice, bowing in gratitude. And Kim's little one, my little grandson, and Kimberly's 1-year-old Asita, and all the pet animals everywhere. Wishing you all well. And Edward's phone that he threw in the back. I hope it's not broken. I think I'm more attached to it than you are. Wish you all well, everyone. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to say goodbye. And everyone here, I'll put the original sound on. So if everyone's here want to say goodbye to everyone on Zoom, they can hear you now, baby. Yes.
Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
There's Carla. Bye, everyone. Bye, Mary. Bye, Kim.